Majority Leader referred to what we're doing this evening as awash with good news. Well, it's also awash with earmarks. They have not been around for over 10 years, and we're bringing them back. I'm going to call up an amendment here in a bit that's going to talk about what to do about them. But I think you need to have a backdrop of what we're doing here this evening. I'm on the Budget Committee, and I don't think we did a budget resolution, and I don't think we've done a budget for over 10 years. This is the biggest business in the world that now is spending close to $5 trillion, only 1.5 of it that's even subject to review, because the one ingenious thing that we've done here, if you believe in big government, is put it all on autopilot, on mandatory spending. That's what drives the government currently, and that means that the Budget Committee is a useless appendage because we don't use it anymore. I got here a little over 3 years ago. We were $18 trillion in debt. Now we're over $30 trillion in debt, and everyone seems to shrug their shoulders. That's not a good business plan for Americans to be borrowing money, even if it has good stuff in it, when it's for consumption. It'll only end up in a hard reconciliation down the road. Now let's talk about earmarks. It's kind of a gateway drug to more spending. 367 pages of earmarks. Just took a quick poll how much it weighs in paper, 4 to 5 pounds. Haven't had them for over 10 years. Now they're back. In the House, they said they're okay with it. In the Senate, the other side of the aisle said they're okay with it. We said we're not okay with it in our Republican conference, but any senator can do it anyway. Those are called gimmicks and loopholes, and that's the way the place works. No one's sure how much money is actually being devoted to these. It's a wasteful tool that was away for a long time, and it's on top of a budget that was never done, and what we're doing this evening was supposed to have been done by September 30th of last year. Too many people depend on this place to have a system that's run by the seat of its pants. You bring the earmarks back, well, there's supposed to be a few rules to go with them. You're supposed to make them public 2 days before you actually have to vote on them. Well, that didn't happen. The text was released at 1:30 a.m. yesterday. 2,700 pages. The House passed it only after 20 hours of review. That's at the rate of about having to come up with finding out $1 billion a minute of what's in it. Members are supposed to have a financial disclosure attached to any earmark. That hasn't happened either. Just one of those simple details that seem to never get attended to in this place. Let's look at a few of the doozies. One earmark spends $500,000 to promote health equity in Yonkers, in New York. One spends $1.6 million for university research into equitable shellfish aquaculture. I don't know what that is, but it's in Rhode Island. One earmark spends $300,000 on the Alliance for Gun Responsibility Foundation, a left-wing lobbying group that claims that the Second Amendment has a history of being used as a tool of white supremacy. 3 samples of hundreds and hundreds of earmarks. It's not what the American public deserve. They expect more out of us. Should be a merit-based system on what we spend here. It should be going through regular order on the budget committee I'm on, where you bring people in to testify, do you actually need more money? What you did spend the year before, was it spent well? That's the way all other places in this country do it, because it's the only thing that works. Here, the system has been so degraded, this is what we end up with. I'll end with this. Most of my colleagues here, I think, view this place as a growth business, but a growth business is based on a few things. You generally make a profit. That's not what this is about, but you'd balance your budget. You do things that make sense year after year, and when you're spending money that constitutes almost 20% of our GDP, you think you'd put more into it than dropping 2,700 pages in our lap and thinking that you can get through it. And for those that want more of this for the sake of the institution, you ought to be concerned about what it's going to look like down the road when we add another $1.5 trillion in debt to our current $30 trillion, and there's no end in sight. A lot of stories have been written throughout history where that ends up, and it's in the ditch. The Medicare Trust Fund is completely exhausted in about 4.5 years. 18% benefit cuts when that happens. Actuarially, we've known the Social Security Fund is going to go broke in about 10 or 11 years. What will we do? We'll probably wait until the year before it happens, not make any other reforms, and then borrow the money to backfill it and put more and more obligation on our kids and our grandkids. I'm going to call up my amendment in a bit. I'll yield the floor at this time.